Thank you. Senator Coons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to thank the panel, and I'd like to thank everyone who has come here today to remind us of the millions of families across our country who have been touched in some way by gun violence. I'm from the small city of Wilmington in Delaware. We are currently struggling with a spate of gun violence that exceeds any previous records. We are a small city, but we've had 160 shooting incidents so far this year, and 30 homicide victims and 191 shooting victims. And we have looked to and received great assistance from ATF and FBI, and are struggling as a community with how to address this ongoing wave of violence. And I think we're just one small window into what we see nationally. The mass shooting incidents that were described early on by the senators from Nevada and from Texas, and then the routine, tragically daily gun violence incidents that plague our whole country. And I am hopeful that we can make some bipartisan progress. That's why I've co-sponsored Senator Cornyn's Nix Fix bill and Senator Feinstein's bill on bump stocks. I want to pursue a line of questioning, if I might, Mr. Lindquist, that Senator Feinstein began earlier about NICS denials. It is a crime to try and buy a firearm if the law prohibits you from having one, right, both federally and in many states?
Yes, sir.
And how many of these try and buy crimes are prosecuted federally every year, do you think?
I don't know the answer to that, Senator.
But you would agree with me that if a person tries to buy a firearm but is denied because they have failed a background check, they are likely to then go somewhere else and try and get a gun?
That's possible.
Possible or likely?
I don't know the answer to that. It's possible.
It'd certainly be a good predictor that someone is in the market for a weapon if they try and are denied.
It can be a predictor, yes, sir.
So wouldn't it be helpful to state and local law enforcement, to federal law enforcement, if they knew about that person and their illegal attempt to gain a weapon, even though being a person prohibited, before they succeed in getting a gun another way?
It can be helpful, yes, sir.
Well, in my home community, that's the sort of thing I am hoping we can find a bipartisan path towards solving. A recent FBI report found that last year alone, there were 4,000 instances where individuals were permitted to purchase a firearm despite their not being cleared by the failures increasing so much, Mr. Lincoln?
Senator, I don't know the exact reasons for that. My supposition is the fact that the numbers of background checks have increased astronomically. Since 2010, we had 14 million background checks in the NICS system, and last year was the record year of 27.5 million. That's nearly double in that time frame. That is a tremendous strain on the individuals that do that work for the FBI and for the states, the point of contact states and across the nation. So the 3-day background check, the 3 business days that we are allowed under the Brady Act, that sometimes gets stretched with those volumes like that. That's the only reason I can think of off the top of my head that would lead to those purchases being allowed. In other words, the firearms dealer, according to the Brady Act, after the 3 business days, and we have not gotten back to them because we've asked the jurisdiction for further information, that they can sell that firearm according to the Brady Act. So that firearm can be sold. At that point, if we get the disqualifying information, we immediately get that back out, and that's why those 4,000 weapons were retrieved at that point.
Well, and if I might, Mr. Brandon, requests by the FBI to recover an unlawful firearm are particularly dangerous because we're asking an ATF agent to confront a person prohibited who is known to now possess 1 or more weapons. Do you agree with me that these NICS failures and then the attempts to redress them in the field are particularly dangerous for law enforcement officials?
Senator Coons, thanks for the question. And my executive team and I, in 2015, made it a priority of retrieving delayed denials. In fact, I have a monthly briefing, a monitored case briefing, where we track every division and we see how it's trending up and down. To A.D. Lindquist's comment about the volume of sales, you know, you're going to have more people delay denial. But it will shed some light on it. There may be the perception that all these people are violent felons. I mean, they're prohibited and so forth. And sometimes, though, it will come back that they're not prohibited. And so we have to do a thorough investigation. But my affirming to you, Senator, that it's a priority to ATF, and it's we own it. And so I have an expression. It's you know, pure ATF, one ATF working on pure ATF, and delayed denials get our full attention.
Well, it seems to me, if I might, just in closing, say, this is an area where I hope there's broad bipartisan agreement that we should be providing the resources you need in FBI and ATF and in state and local law enforcement to make sure that people who should not have access to firearms under our current laws don't, that we are coordinating and reporting between federal agencies and state and local law enforcement, and in particular that where someone who is prohibited is denied an opportunity to purchase a firearm, that information is shared in a way that is appropriate and actionable, because the best way to stop gun violence is to make sure that those who, under our current laws, are not allowed to have firearms do not easily get access to them. So thank you very much for your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member, for today's hearing. I think this is an important issue for us to work on.
Senator